Hello, God bless. Thank you for watching part 2. We're going to continue on. I want to say thank you for watching the first video. I know some of this is probably repetitious to what you already know, but I have to paint a picture for the people that don't understand, and I just, thank you for your patience. Trust me, at the end of this presentation, I think you'll be very surprised and very glad you watched all of it, as I know I was when the Lord showed me these things. We go to Daniel 2:43, and we have, "And whereas thou sawest iron and mixed with the miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave to one another, as iron does not mix with clay. And the kingdom shall be divided," and it goes on to say, "and they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men." The fourth kingdom will be destroyed by a stone cut without hands. That's in Daniel 2:34. It will hit the feet, the fourth kingdom, and destroy the statue. It says it's pretty clear that this will be a stone cut without hands. I believe this stone is some sort of meteorite, some sort of asteroid. In the book, I believe, of Matthew, where it talks about the adulterous woman, and everyone is ready to stone her, and they give Jesus the stone, and he goes around asking who has not sinned, cast the first stone. Jesus Christ is the only one without sin, and I believe he will be throwing this stone from heaven to earth to destroy this kingdom. And I think it even paints it more of a picture when you go to Revelation 9. When you go to Revelation 9, the fifth angel sounded, which I believe is the fifth age, which is the next age, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. I believe this is Satan. I believe this is Jesus Christ tossing Satan from heaven to earth. Once again, do your own study on this and see where the Lord takes you with it. They had a king over the bottomless pit, and I believe this is Satan who is coming to the earth at this point. So let's continue. So to really understand this, we need to know three things. Who is the clay? Who are they? And what is the seed? And then I think we can understand a lot more of what's going on here. It's no surprise that we're the clay. And if you do your homework on the searches here, it talks about we are the clay and thou are the potter. That's probably the most evident one. And then as you can see, there's others. So that's a pretty easy one. If we go to the iron, it's a little bit more difficult, and I've had to do a lot more searching and a lot more research on what exactly is the iron. What is iron? Iron is defined as unyielding, stern, harsh, sturdy. Ever heard the term ruled with an iron fist? The government kingdom will have total rule over the human clay. Iron, total government control. Rome is the past government that reflects this future government. Rome had two regions in Europe, and also in modern-day Turkey. Rome's weaponry was total control, and it was made of iron. Think about it. They had the iron, they had the shields, they had total control because of the iron that they had. With the statue legs representing the Roman Empire, so the new kingdom will not be of Rome, but will have Roman characteristics. Do you see America heading this way? And you have the two legs of iron, and I can throw this statue up here real quickly. You have the two legs of the Roman Empire, the western and the eastern, and the same iron is mixed with the clay down below. So now we need to understand a little bit more about the iron. I think it goes much deeper than just a Roman type government, and that's what I want to get into. Interesting enough, something happens very unique where the ark landed on Mount Ararat, and that's what I want to show you next. So we have Mount Ararat, and this is where, of course, the ark landed according to Genesis. Interesting enough, this is known as two peaks, and it has two peaks, the greater Ararat and then the lesser Ararat. I'll show you something with that in just a second, but I want to go to this part first. So here's Mount Ararat, and it's also, which was the name of the ancient kingdom of Urartu. Urartu is kind of neat because Urartu was an Iron Age kingdom centered around Lake Van in the Armenian highlands, the kingdom of Van. This is where the Iron Age started. Okay, so just something kind of neat. And then if we go back and we want to look at two peaks, Satan has to mock everything God does. So what is this restaurant? We have a Two Peaks restaurant. And that's what we get. That's how Satan mocks God. Two peaks. Anyway, just wanted to throw that in there real quick. Okay, so we look in the book of Genesis, and we look at iron. The first place iron is mentioned is Genesis 4:22. And it just so happens that this is a verse about a man named Tubal-Cain. And Zillah she bore Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his wives. Tubal-Cain is the grandson of Cain. And Cain killed Abel with a piece of iron, a plow blade. Now we'll get into this in just a second. Some people like to think that Satan is the father of Cain. And I'm not saying he is or isn't. But I will say this. The Bible says, and Adam knew Eve his wife. In other words, knew her, had sex with her. And she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. Okay. To me, that says that Cain came from Adam. However, I'm open-minded, and I am trying to look at everything in a perspective. I don't put all my stock into this. In other words, I take it for what it says, and I'm just simply trying to paint a picture of could this be part of Satan's seed? So let's look at the book of Jasher. Now the book of Jasher will plainly say that Cain killed Abel with a piece of iron. So let's go to the book of Jasher real quick. So here we have the book of Jasher, and Jasher is referenced in the book of Joshua. And you know what I do and how I take these things is I bounce them off the Bible first. The Bible is the foundation. If these things support the Bible, then I take them as nice to know information. Anyway, line 25. And Cain hastened and rose up and took the iron part of his plowing instrument, which he suddenly smote his brother and slew him. And Cain split the blood of his brother Abel upon the earth, and the blood of Abel steamed upon the earth before the flock. So here we have the iron part. I just find it interesting, and I'm going to show you where I'm going here in just a second, that his grandson, Tubal-Cain, also worked with iron. So you might ask, where am I going with this? Let's take a look. If we go back to our presentation here, one thing I noticed is that a lot of the Nephilim in the Bible and the offspring of the Nephilim, there is mentioned iron with them. For example, Tubal-Cain, if we believe that Satan's seed is part of Cain. Another thing here is King Og of Bashan remained of the remnant of giants. Behold, his bedstead and his bedstead of iron, is it not in Rabbath of the children of Ammon? It talks about the size of his bed, and it actually mentions the length thereof, made of iron. I notice when the Lord speaks in the Bible that there are certain things to pay attention to, and this kind of stands out. Iron, okay? If we go on, we also have here, the hill is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites that dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron. Canaanites were offsprings of Nephilim, okay? And the Lord was with Judah, and he drove out the inhabitants of the mountain, but could not drive out the inhabitants of the valley, because they had chariots of iron. And he gave Hebron unto Caleb. And Moses said, and he expelled hence 3 sons of Anak. Anak was Nephilim. Okay? And then we have this one right here. This is talking about Goliath. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. So what I'm trying to paint here is there's a connection between the offspring of Satan, these Nephilim, All right, and whether or not you want to believe Cain is that offspring or not, that's even kind of irrelevant, really, because it goes on past that lineage. It goes into the Genesis 6, which obviously happened after Cain. And we have these Nephilim mentioned in the Bible in references with iron. Another thing that I found interesting, when I searched the Bible in the King James Version, okay, in the King James Version Bible, iron came up 89 times. Now, numbers also mean something in the Bible. Eight is the number of a new beginning. There was 8 people taken on the ark. 9 is the number for judgment. 9 people stoned in the Bible. Just do your research on that, and that's kind of interesting, at least. So new beginnings and judgment. All right, so the Lord led me to Joshua 9, and to read Joshua 9. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to go over some highlights here. What has happened is Joshua has just beat Jericho, and he's on his spree. And these people, the inhabitants of Gibeon, heard that Joshua had done at Jericho and Ai, and they did work wily, and they went and made as if they had been ambassadors. Now, let me ask you a question. Has there anything that has happened in this world to make it look like there have been ambassadors from another world to come here? Of course. You have the pyramids, you have the Mayans, you have all these different areas of the world where it appears somebody from outer space has come here before and shared knowledge. And all I can think about is that guy with this crazy hair saying aliens. It's not aliens, it's fallen angels. Anyway, so what has happened here is God used this whole scenario to paint the same picture for us. They did work wily and went and made as if they had been ambassadors. And they took old stuff, old sacks, old wine bottles, all these different things, and they came and their provisions were dry and moldy. And they went to Joshua into the camp at Gilgal and said unto him and to the men of Israel, We come from a far country. Now therefore make a league with us, make a treaty, bind ourselves with us. And the men of Israel and the Hivites and the Preventure dwell among us. How shall we make a league with you? We are your servants. And Joshua said, Who are you? Where do you come from? And they kept saying, this is a common theme throughout this chapter, we come from a far country. Thy servants, all right? Just go through and read this. We are your servants. Now make a league with us. All these different things. And Joshua made peace with them and made a league with them. Okay, and eventually it goes on. But this, right here, we come from a far country, is said also in Isaiah 13. This is God speaking. I've commanded my sanctified ones. I've called my mighty ones for my anger. Those are his angels. Even them that rejoice in my highness. They come from a far country, from the far end of heaven, for weapons of his indignation, to destroy the whole land. Alright? So, let's go back. These are Gibeonites. So I did a search on what is Gibeon, and this is what I found. Gibeon is a meteorite that fell in prehistoric times in Nambia. It was named after the nearest town, Gibeon, Nambia, made of what? Iron. Folks, I think we're getting somewhere. So let's look at one more thing. So there's a man named Dr. Robert Lear. Dr. Roger Lear, I'm not sure, I have to relook at my notes, who has since passed away but has done up to, I think, 17 extractions of objects found in personnel that they didn't know they had, or they had some sort of alien encounter and these objects were found. And he's removed these and has found very unique characteristics about them. And I'm going to show you, these are just some notes, quick notes that I took. This is from a project I did a while back. Iron was the highest element that prevailed in the actual implant itself. And I believe folks, that the iron, at this point, if you already haven't figured out, I believe the iron is somehow angelic DNA being put in, fallen angel DNA. But anyway, let's take a couple look at a snapshot of these notes. This is, and I'll pull up the full report here in just a second. This is where it was taken from, and what I did is just copied and pasted some of the notes from the actual notes from the doctor from his analysis. The object scanned with a radio frequency detection instrument which detected radio signals emitted at these frequencies 100 times faster than our fastest computer. They tried to cut it. It had formed some sort of membrane around itself. Right here, normal tissue, difficult, was not black, not difficult to cut through. Had vessels, and it had some sort of yellowish oil embedded in the membrane. The object was extremely hard, had extremely high mechanical strength, and proved impossible to cut even with a diamond tool. It was then cut in half using a high-powered pulsed laser. The outer layer of the object was a capsule of tissue resembling epithelial tissue which clung tightly to the metallic core. Numerous small vesicles, or what appeared to be yellow liquid, were evident in the tissue layer. Small nerve fibers were seen connecting to the tissue surrounding the object. And I mean, you can just kind of, there was a coating on this as well as these what they called nanotubes. Let's look at the next page here. These were the nanotubes on here. The nickel content, along with traces of gallium and germanium percent, strongly suggest that the metallic portion of the sample was manufactured but contains some meteoric iron. This was interesting. When this was removed, the function of the device cannot be determined with certainty from the available data. What the device may have had multiple functions and missions. It is likely, however, that two of its functions had to do with monitoring the psychological state of Mr. Newell's body, mood, and mind control. The possible mood-mind control aspect is highlighted by the extreme depression suffered by Mr. Knoll for the first few weeks after the removal of the device. Now I'll go ahead and I'll pull up the actual report. So here's the actual report. You can go to the website www.alienscalpel.com and click on this report and get everything you want from it. But I wanted to throw it up here just to give him credit as well. Roger Lear, okay. But anyway, it goes through and it has pictures of it, and what looks like a normal hunk of iron, I believe, is some sort of angelic alien DNA manipulation. And I actually saw this article today. An RFID microchip found implanted in local man in Bayfield, Colorado. And local man has been found to have some sort of device. And he was in shock to find it at a random trip to the hospital. Consisted of a tissue bonding cap made from special plastic that covers the sealed glass capsule containing the RFID circuitry. The cap is designed to bond with human tissue and prevent the capsule from moving around once it's implanted. This is about our RFID chip right here. It has a picture of what was found in him right here. Just a small piece of iron. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. The Lord wanted me to say, put on my heart anyway, that iron, enemy of iron, is water. And who is the living water? Who gives us the living water? Jesus Christ. And breath, oxygen, destroys, makes it rust. Iron cannot stand the breath of life. So I thought that was kind of interesting. How oxygen and water are enemies of the iron. Okay, folks, I'm going to wrap this up as part 2. Part 3 is going to discuss, is this going on right now? And it's going to have some verses in there that you probably wouldn't expect. Some things that really allude to what's really going on in the world right now. Is this really happening now? Is this chip have to be in place for this to happen? This kind of went off to explain the iron in great detail. So we know the clay is the human beings. We know they are obviously the fallen angels. They've done it before, they will do it again. And the iron, I believe, is some sort of angelic DNA device, or manipulates DNA that will control humanity. Remember, Satan is the idol shepherd, and the idol shepherd has two meanings to it. Number one is idolatry, and we know that through Hollywood and through many other different ways, but also means lazy. And I believe that turning this DNA will turn human beings to worship him and beast. God bless, folks. Thanks for watching. I should be able to wrap everything up in the next video. So I look forward to making it and showing you these truths. God bless you. Thank you for watching.